As you've been hearing, there are more protests planned around the country tonight, and many organizers say they want them to be peaceful, but there is no certainty they will stay that way. We talk now with two people with experience managing unrest in their cities. Michael Nutter is the former mayor of Philadelphia, and Christopher Swanson is the sheriff of Genesee County, Michigan. He received national attention for his approach to demonstrators in Flint this weekend. Here's how some of that went.
We want to be with y'all for real. So I took my helmet off and laid the batons down. I want to make this a parade, not a protest. You tell us what you need to do.
Walk with us! 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 Walk with us!
Let's walk. Let's walk.
So, Sheriff Swanson, watching that video, why did you decide to do that? You were expressing solidarity with these protesters.
You are right, and thanks for having me. And I can tell you that night on May 30th, Flint made history on how to handle protests in a way that was honorable. Our city is already under enough oppression. We're already dealing with economic issues and water crisis and the pandemic, and it was just the right thing to do. As a veteran police officer who knows the community, I saw acts of kindness with fist bump, a small hug, and I went to my right and I saw that and I said, I'm taking the helmet off, we're putting our batons down, and I'm walking in the crowd. And when I did that act of vulnerability probably wasn't the best tactical move by any means. It sent a message, and that message was, I need to say, we don't agree. That's not who we are, what happened to Mr. Floyd. And when I said that to the crowd, the second question, what do we need to do now, is to walk with us. That changed everything, because now they had a voice and they wanted somebody to listen to, and that's what was the change agent.
Mayor Nutter, former Mayor Nutter, how often does something like that happen in your experience?
Unfortunately, Judy, it's pretty rare and pretty rare. And Sheriff Swanson, thank you for your leadership. I also understand that something similar happened in Camden, New Jersey, just across the river from us here in Philadelphia. I think increasingly, Judy, these issues, these challenges can only be solved by partnership and cooperation, by police and community working together, but also because of the racial aspect of this, Black Americans need to hear that white people really do understand and are not only listening, but they're hearing what we say. The issues and challenges, if you think about the last 3-4 months, what's happened? Suddenly, worldwide pandemic, everyone forced into their home, virtually no one can work. Thousands, millions of people have lost their jobs. 40-some million Americans have filed for unemployment. And then we see the video from Ahmaud Arbery's assassination, chased down by 2 or 3 white people, killed him. We see Mr. Floyd killed in the streets in a new autopsy report, homicide at the hands of police. We see or hear about Mr. Cooper in Central Park, where unfortunately a white female uses race as a weapon against Mr. Cooper, who was doing nothing. And that could have turned out very badly. And incident after incident after incident. And people are just tired, Judy. They're really pissed off.
Sure.
I hate to say that on PBS.
Well, that's the way a lot of people feel. Sheriff Swanson, how do you know? I mean, how does someone in law enforcement in your position know when the moment is right to do this? Because as we said, there are a lot of people who want these protests to be peaceful, but there are sometimes, things get out of control. People get involved who take things to a different place. How is law enforcement to handle that? What's the best approach?
Well, first of all, you got to know your community. Mayor's spot on. I'm sure he knows Philly better than anybody. But if you separate yourself, especially as a police executive, from the street, And the higher you go and you lose touch, you become tone deaf to what the language is. That separation creates a divide. And now it just so happens that divide is police against African Americans that has set the tone. But that tone can be reversed. And we saw that here in Flint, Michigan. You know, in 8 minutes and 46 seconds, one individual who wore the same uniform and badge but isn't who we are eroded and erased years of inroads that communities have built with their people, that law enforcement has tried so hard, that mayors and townships and cities across the nation have tried to build. But those relationships were key. And I walked in that crowd, I'm going to tell you, being 27 years on the job, it wasn't just something that I thought of. I would like to say that I strategized, and it wasn't it. I love my people. I love the people of the community. I've served them for my entire adult life. I felt comfortable, although not the best tactical decision, as I mentioned, but I knew that if I laid down my weapons and I walked in a position of vulnerability, they would see this as an action, not just words. Just like Mayor said, people are tired of words, they're tired of empty promises. And when they saw that, it changed their hearts. And we haven't stopped there. Day 2, we had demonstrations right on the front of our lawn. We took care of people, we served them, no issues. Today, we had more demonstrations, served them, protected them. 3 days, no arrests, no fires, no injuries.
Let me just finally, we've got less than a minute, Mayor Nutter. President Trump today is calling on governors to get tougher. He's saying if you don't dominate, then you're seen as weak. They'll see you as jerks. Is this the message that law enforcement should be heeding, governors should be heeding?
That's just accelerating the feelings of oppression that Black people, Latino people, other people of color have already been feeling. Donald Trump has no idea how to manage in a crisis. He has no, as the chief talked about, he has no feeling of the street. This is not about domination. This is about working with people. But Judy, you alluded to something, and I want to take it head on. But there are some people at these protests whose interests are not about Mr. Floyd, whose interests are not about Black people, whose interests are not about equity and justice. There are people who want destruction, they want chaos, they want confusion, and they meld into some of these crowds. And the next thing you know, you have chaos. Now, Donald Trump likes chaos, and he likes this environment because he can now play to his political base that he has to keep these people in control. This is a political game that he's playing, and we're talking about life and death, the life and death of people and the life and death of communities.
Mayor Michael Nutter, Sheriff Christopher Swanson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.